saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, how I want to be in that number when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, how I want to be in that number, yeah, when the saints go marching in. Go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, how I want to be in that number, yeah, when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, how I want to be in that number, yeah, when the saints go marching in. Goodbye, Joe, you gotta go, me oh my oh. You gotta pull me oh down the bayou. Is your bond, sweetest one, me oh my oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Joe, like a crawfish pie and filet gumbo. For tonight I'm gonna see Mama Shana me oh. Big guitar, little fruit jar, and big A.O. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Scooby-Doo, want to know the place is buzzing. Kinfolk come see you by the dozen. Dressed in style, go hog wild, me oh my oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, and play gumbo. For tonight I'm gonna see Mama Santa Mio. Big guitar, little fruit jar, and big ale. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou.
Identified the band members yet? Take a bow, Dr. Mouton. Take a bow, Dr. Kaiser. Take a bow, Dr. Daxo. And friends, thank all of you guys for an excellent performance. Well, welcome to Town Hall. Some of you, it's Valentine's Day, right, Dr. Townsend? We got up this morning. I got to the office before I realized that my beautiful wife has put on red for a reason. Should have said Happy Valentine's Day, so get me out of the doghouse. I've been in it since the last town hall meeting, so when I called her out for leaving early. But she reminded me she was seeing patients, so that was okay. Well, happy Valentine's Day and happy Mardi Gras. Today is the first day. You know, I've been your interim president for 167 days, but who's counting? Not me. Yeah, I started this thinking I knew a whole lot about UTMB and about what needed to be done. I found out I had big expectations, and I needed to learn a lot first. And I want to thank each of you for teaching me along the way the last almost 6 months, and for the incredible advice you have given me, and for your candid feedback. There's nothing better than having people who want to weigh in and tell you how improvement can occur. Because you're on the front line of that. You're the people who are making the difference, not the people in the ivory tower in the administration. It is you who are out there doing the work every day. So I took a hint from that, and I started traveling around to some other campuses so I could see what's going on there. I came to this post with a lot of anxiety. Then I realized, why need to be anxious? You're with family. You don't have anything to worry about if you're all in the same vehicle going the same direction, and it's the right direction, and you're with family. And that's what I will be saying a whole lot. There's a lot of territory to cover today, so I want to dive right in it. I want to dive first to Way to Go Awards. And I'm going to lead off with Linda Berry. Linda, are you here? Linda, I'm surprising you, I know, but the Way to Go Awards were designed to recognize people who do something really unique. Come on up here by me. We're family. I'm not gonna embarrass you or anything. You know, Linda has done some special things in her job, patient services specialist, and she is sort of the face that I would put on our best of best employees. We had a family who lost a loved one. You know that, don't you? And you know the policies here about when someone dies, you have to have the funeral home pick them up and move them out. This family couldn't afford a funeral. They couldn't afford a funeral home. They couldn't afford the cremation. So Linda took it on herself to help that family raise the money and obtain what they needed to get a release on that body and have a funeral. That's the kind of people we have working here. Linda, thank you. Thank you. And I have a shirt for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. You know, there's Lindas all over this campus, and we can't recognize everybody, and I hope you know what we're doing. We're symbolically saying, Linda, thank you for what you did because you represent the best of the best in our entire organization, whether we're in Angleton, League City, Clear Lake, or right here on our beautiful Galveston Island. I also want to recognize one other person, and that's Andrea Wirt. Andrea, are you here? Andrea was sitting in the far back row, hoping not to be called on today, I guess. Andrea is a geriatric nurse practitioner. Andrea also symbolizes what we look for in the best of the best. And Andrea, I'm going to tell a little bit of the story, but not a long one. Andrea provided some care for an exceptional man in his 90s, a man who just loved his nurse practitioner better than anything. He loved the visits. She took time to talk to him. He had to go in the hospital. He didn't want to go in the hospital because he wanted to keep seeing her in the clinic because she wouldn't be following him there. But she took care of that. She arranged a time every day on her schedule to call and talk to him. She also visited him. When he got out of the hospital, celebrated his 90th birthday at church, he looked out that day, and who did he see in the audience but Andrea? So on behalf of the Tillman family and a whole host of other people, I want to call you out today and say thank you for making such a huge difference in a 90-year-old guy's life. Thank you. 5 decades ago, I arrived at UTMB as a graduate student. I have... what? Oh, my word. Shows you how little control I have. I can't believe you did that. Yes, we had another side. We were children of the 60s and 70s, so. Oh, my word. The only person here who will recognize me is Joan, I'm sure. Anyway, 5 decades later, I'm still at home here at UTMB, and I have a few more pounds than I had back then, a lot less hair, and also, I don't know, my bell bottoms are probably still hanging in the closet somewhere. I could tell you stories about those last 50 years, but I want to confine our discussion to the last 6 months. We have, since September, been making some progress in areas. If I were to look over that progress at UTMB, one of the things that I would remind us of here, there's a group of people that don't get called out as often as they should. The people who don't get brought forward and says, thank you for the wonderful job you're doing in clinical care. Those are our research faculty. Everybody who's involved in research, department chair, or anything else, would you just please stand? All of you. Let me broaden that to say if you're in a research lab and you work there as a technician or in any of our scientific projects, you stand up also. Thank you. You know, our research community, which numbers over 1,000 individuals in scientists and in support staff all over our campus, from veterinarians and technicians and grant writers and support staff, equipment techs and engineers that keep our labs running and all of that, are vital to this operation. Just how vital are they? Well, our research funding is approaching $140 million. Last year, we went up somewhere between 6 and 12%. 6 and 12 is a strange set of numbers to throw on you, but that's if you just look at NIH funding. But if you add in National Academy of Science funding, if you add in philanthropic funding, if you add in Department of Defense and others, that number goes up. So when you see these people crossing your campus, say hello to them warmly. Say hello and appreciate them for what they're doing. Have any of you heard of our little virus that we're having? We are the only place around the country that has a snowball's chance of solving that problem. Seriously. I mean, Dr. Piyang Shi and his colleagues, all the others over in the Galveston National Lab, we got samples of that virus just in the last 24 hours. They're already fast-tracking that. Remember what our folks did with the new strain of Ebola? I think you probably do, in that 24 hours after getting the sample, they were on their way to making a vaccine. 24 hours later, they had the vaccine. And 24 hours later, 72 hours total, they had that vaccine back in Africa. Transformational science is being done right here on this campus. And we should really be thankful for that because each of us are impacted. But when you see these folks, tell them you appreciate it because often they are the last people we think of. And that should not be the case. They are the ones who are bringing from the laboratory bench products to the bedside to treat our patients. That's important. And we need to take a moment of recognition of that. So next time you see these brilliant investigators, please thank them for the spectacular work that they do. And remember that we are better off between fiscal year 2018 and 2019 by over $15 million because of their hard work and the grants that they work on. $15 million. Well, Cheryl, I've already stepped into precarious soil by talking about money, so I'll just get it over with. We have been looking at our budget very, very carefully over the last 5 months, and by and large, we have done really well. We're seeing some remarkable growth in our overall patient numbers and all, but patient numbers doesn't always translate into money. And so we've also been looking at that. Truth is, we are lagging behind budget about $2.7 million. Now, that's far better than we were last year, but a budget lag is worrisome. So don't make any quantum leaps right now and set your hair on fire, okay? I just want you to know what I know, because that's the best policy is transparency and knowing what's going on. We believe that even though we're off budget at 5 months, that we won't be off budget at the end of the year. And why is that? Well, we're opening a whole lot of new service lines in the Clear Lake area. We are also addressing some of the slow areas that haven't quite got on track yet. And we're also holding our line on spending in remarkable ways. I'm really, really proud of the progress that's been made across the entire campus, not through cutbacks, rifts, and stuff like that, but just lowering our spending and increasing our productivity. And some of those changes are things we put in place last year that we're seeing some incredible productivity off of. For example, I'm really impressed with our relatively new administrative services hubs. They're supporting our financial functions as well. as the departments in both the president's office and all the departments that report up into our institutional infrastructure area. They're beating budget by over $3 million so far this year. That's a remarkable savings for them in their particular area. The group is led by Beth Stum and a cadre of individuals who are reassigned to that special unit just a year ago. And they're really holding the line by providing supervision of all reimbursements, travel, and everything else. Now, the good news is the academic enterprise has just launched the same administrative services hub, or one similar to that, under Jennifer Young. Jennifer, where are you? Uh-oh, I called her out before without confirming. Are you over there? Wave to everybody. I want to give you some compliments, Jennifer. I met with some people this week, and I won't say their name, but I'll just say they are faculty senators. And they told me they really appreciate their travel reimbursements are getting done quickly in an all-time record, that they're accurate, and your staff are friendly and professional to work with. And that's some major accolades. Thank you for leading that group. It took a while to set that up, and it's a transition, and you know what happens? Anytime there's a transition, everybody gets really anxious. You know, how's this going to work? Well, I'm glad it's working well, and I think we can look forward to some cost savings just like we've seen in the institutional support area. And it doesn't all come from just those bottles of water that we have limited. It comes in a lot of areas. But who would ever believe that limiting water in bottles could save $1 million, but it did. Well, our main challenges in the clinical area, I covered institutional support and I covered academics, and I'm real pleased with how they're looking on paper and how they're functioning, both of those. The one area are clinical areas that we still need to focus on. We're working with faculty to improve our volumes, and you probably have heard a lot about that around campus. Improving volumes, quite simply put, just means seeing more patients. How can we see more patients and get people in? When people pick up the phone and call and say, I want to see, in real time, a cardiologist, and they're told, gee, we'll get you in 6 weeks. What are they going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to see somebody else, are you? If UTMB can't do it, who can? I'm being brutally blunt here, but that's what any of you would do in all likelihood. You're not going to just hang around with chest pain for 6 weeks and end up calling an undertaker. You're going to go to another doctor, right? Well, that's the difficulty we face. And frankly, it's not one doctor that is a problem. We just don't have enough. We need to recruit doctors, and the doctors that we have need to flex their schedules a little bit in some cases. And that's something we're having to come to grips with. That's also a really big problem in our surgical services. We have to address that, and we have to address that efficiency where people, when they need to be seen, can get in. You don't wait around all day to get something fixed that needs to be fixed quick. So those are difficult things to deal with. We have a number of people who are working on them. We're making the electronic medical record a lot friendlier to use and more efficient for our physicians and our nursing staff. All those things are good. I've got to do a little shout out here for the primary care providers in the community-based clinics. They're up over 25,000 visits so far this year. 25,000. But most of us can count, at least on these 10, and go through and do some simple math. A primary care physician doesn't get reimbursed what a surgeon or other physicians get reimbursed. So unless we have those specialty doctors out there doing their job also, we'll never make enough money to pay our bills. So we've got to rev up that economic engine as a part of our overall institution. Also, I'd like to shout out to the women's and children's efforts. Through some ideas that are rather creative, Dr. Joan Richardson suggested that we start bringing our patients in at 39 weeks and seeing if they're ready to deliver. Well, guess what? They are. And so we delivered 40 more babies last month than we did the month before by a simple intervention. And oh, by the way, if those moms and babies don't have a ride to the hospital, we've got Uber's number and have a contract with them. So we'll pick them up at their house, deliver them to the hospital, deliver their baby, and send both of them home in a car seat. The baby just in a car seat. So what am I saying here? I'm sharing information with you. 2.7 million is not a large amount of money in a $2.5 billion budget. Some people might even say it's eraser dust. Don't worry about it. But I'm sharing that with you because I want you to have the appropriate concern about the goals we have all agreed to shoot for this year. I don't hold any of that back from you. You need to know it's not totally solemn. I mean, we can still rev a bit and have some fun. But we have got to hold the line on spending this year, and we've got to continue to work to improve those volumes, and our budget will be back online. I'm not oversimplifying. You keep doing the job that you have been doing, and we should all be fine. We turn this corner, and we will be on really solid ground in our future for UTMB. Wait till you see what's ahead. And that's my prompt to tell you just a couple other things. Take pride in the work you're doing because it really makes a difference to the people we serve. Show up every day with that servant attitude and give more than you think you can. And a lot of you are going to say, Doc, I do that every single day. Don't preach to me. But also speak up and call us out if you see places that we can save more money. Now, I spent a lot of money today on the band here. I want you to know we had to fly them in from all over the world. But I'm glad that they decided to not send us a bill. So we're not spending a lot of money on the band. Well, what are we spending money on? And I'm going to get into that right now where you'll know. Holding line on expenses, you know one of the best things you can do? And I'm not going to do this. I've already been warned, don't dare. I was going to ask, how many of you are a UTMB patient? That's pretty good. Now, I said I was going to ask. I didn't mean to by accident. But, you know, for those of you who aren't a UTMB patient, you could help us by just simply making a phone call in your next appointment and getting seen at UTMB. What's wrong with that? It'd be nice to have your copay in our bank account. It'd be nice to have our doctors a little busier there. And I say that in jest, but you also are the best endorsement we have to the neighbors who live in your neighborhood. Is where do you get your health care? You work there, but you mean you don't see anybody there? Well, you should. Particularly if it's my wife. We are also doing our dead level best to stay on top of our best care initiatives. Patient safety and avoidable readmissions are key areas of focus right now. Equity was reintroduced to the study this year, and I just have to tell you, we didn't do good in that area. We got a lot of improvement in that area, right, Gulshan? And we have a couple of other areas we've slipped in. We are kind and compassionate to our patients. We listen to their needs. There are some other things that we need to do in our Best Care initiative because we slipped just a little bit on that scale. And I have all confidence that we will finish out this year by getting back up to the top. But we have slid down to 30 on that list. So we want to climb back up to where we were, and I am sure that we can do that. I'm sorry for my voice. I woke up this morning with a little postnasal drip. I think it's the Galveston fog weather. Recently, I had the opportunity to host some town halls, not just down here, but around to the other campuses. And that's what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today, too. We just have a real can-do spirit at all of our campuses. I don't know whether you get a chance to visit over in the Angleton-Danbury campus or up to League City or over to Clear Lake. I had some of the most wonderful experiences there and some things that we wanted to see and always wondered would happen. Vivian, one of the amazing things I saw even last night at the soft opening of the pediatric center up there, we have a lot of people who used to work for UTMB. They left. Why? Hurricane Ike. They went off to Houston. Many of them relocated up into the Bay Area. I had person after person come up last night and at the town halls before that and say, I am so happy to be back at UTMB. And I was worrying myself about the loss of our culture, the identity we have for those of us who've worked here all of our life, and many of you have worked here a good portion of your life already. But would we lose culture by hiring or bringing in a lot of people who don't know the values of this organization? How important it is to be an employee here, and how we educate our own, and how we provide opportunity. And what I heard from most of those employees who've worked here before is an excitement that I didn't expect to find. An excitement that says, I've got some outstanding employees here. This young lady is a technician in the OR. Can I get her into programs like were available to me so that she can get her RN? And I look over at the name tag, and this person's staying there with not just her BS RN, but also a master's degree. And I said, well, tell me, what did UTMB do for you? And they talk about getting a BS RN and getting a master's degree and working their way into a leadership position at one of the major hospitals in Houston. And they did that all because they had support of UTMB in their education. So we want to be sure we don't lose sight of the most important resource we have, and that is our employees and our trusted task to educate physicians and nurses and other healthcare professionals. I really, really am pleased that our satellite areas are real extensions of this campus. The values and the hard work that people are doing are just incredible. When I walked through the cath lab, the nurses were all upset because one patient didn't show up that day. And to them, they were concerned for the patient's health and wanted to be sure he was okay. It was also a productivity issue for them. They wanted to be sure that every patient that needed to be seen was seen that day. And so were the doctors who were working there. I want to go through some other areas that I think are important for you to know what's happening on this campus, and then we'll talk about some of the others. Have you ever walked by the John Seeley Hospital and wondered, what on earth is going on? Why is this taking so long? Did we hire the slowest construction company possible? Well, I don't know about you. Carrie's not here today because of a death in her family, but it should tell me to keep my mouth shut. But I tell you, they're just as slow as molasses on a cold day. Nothing is happening. We are, Steve, 2 years behind now? And moving to try to make it 3, I think. We are doing all we can to get them to move faster. The East Wing is winding down, and that means we expect to activate it this year in the fall. So it'll probably be December 31st, but it will be sometime this year. We're going to move in at, as my mother would say, come hell or high water. We're going to have somebody living there. The West Wing is trickier because you see, when you're hammering walls and all, you make noise. What's on the other side of those walls in the West Wing? This is not the White House, but I call it the West Wing. On the other side of that is a little thing called our testing center that's on the ground floor of the old pediatric hospital. Well, we got a proposal to move the testing center over, and fortunately, Dr. Mouton and others came up with a good solution not to move it because moving it would cost $2 million. The construction crew, since they were so slow, will now move into the building earlier in the day. We're in daylight savings anyway, so they ought to be able to see what they can do in just 2 more weeks. So they're going to come in earlier and knock off earlier, and we'll do testing later in the day, and we'll save $2 million. So just a few little things like that, we're going to get this budget back on track. That savings, by the way, will allow us, hopefully, to get in that new facility quicker. That new facility is going to be taking care of our babies. So I can't go a day without getting a call from Dr. Richardson about that. It's also going to be taking care of all of our high-risk OB, pediatric intensive care unit, the NICU, all of our regular L&D, high-risk OB, delivery and surgical suites will also be over there, and a host of women's and children's services. And yes, we are reopening behavioral health or mental health services over there, along with rehabilitation services. So a lot of things are dependent on that, and a lot of things that are important to our productivity in balancing our budget. So we want to be sure that all those things are done in an expeditious manner. I need a drink of water. We're also doing some renovations that you can't see. At least you probably don't see very often. They're in the prison hospital. So do any of y'all work over in the prison hospital? A few people? Yes, you do. Well, you'll notice that things, there's a lot of space over there, by the way. You know, at one time we had 250 beds over there, but then we had things like staph, strep, VRE, and all those kind of things, MRSA, that caused us to isolate rooms, and you couldn't use rooms for 3 patients anymore to go down to 1. Well, we need some more space, so we decided to put some infirmary beds over there. Why is that important? Well, it's important because we can increase our volumes by moving people out of the hospital into an infirmary bed and putting a more acute patient that we can charge for into that acute bed. We can also increase the volumes for our surgeons. So a multifaceted approach that Dr. Harlan, Dr. Ojo, and Dr. Murray figured out in just a matter of a few hours. That's going on. You probably not appreciate it, but 24 new infirmary beds will do a lot to adjust our volumes over there in a favorable way. We're also doing some things off campus to acquire more infirmary beds to allow the throughput to increase dramatically. There's some other areas that we are focusing on to avoid readmissions in general. There's also some exciting new stuff that's happening. We opened a virtual center for the prevention of violence. Jeff Temple, stand up and take your bow. Jeff is the inaugural new director, and Jeff loses no time. He's already had 2 of his faculty submit NIH grants in their first 4 weeks on the job. I would challenge the rest of you to manage resources that effectively. That's a good record, Jeff. Thank you. We also took a a giant step with a presidential study committee to move forward to create the Old Red Medical Museum to house UTMB's unprecedented collection of anatomical specimens that date back to the 1890s. This treasure of over 1,000 specimens was about to be lost until, again, faculty members here intervened. And so our thanks to Judy Aronson and to Joan Richardson and Barbara Thompson for pulling a group of people together to save those treasures. And now we're moving to a permanent way of renovating the top floor of Old Red to house that treasure. And they will, I'm assured, be used for our medical school classes, as well as history of medicine preservation purpose. It's housed on the top floor of the Ashbel Smith building. If you've not been over there, don't go crashing in just yet. It's not ready. But the committee will come forth with some recommendations how we're going to do that. And you're saying, oh, well, that sounds like we're spending more money, Dr. Raimer. Well, there's some things you need to spend money for, and that's why God made philanthropists. You know, there's a whole group of our former students that are wealthy doctors and nurses and PTs and OTs who are going to step up to the plate and give some of that money to preserve that collection, I'm sure. If not, we'll send some of you to talk to them. We're also moving forward with renovations in the Moody Medical Library. Not many of you, since you've gotten your education, go over there, I'm sure. Our students do. They were pretty annoyed by us moving ahead there for a faculty lounge, but Steve and I decided once we had started, we weren't going to stop. So we will finish that out. And by the way, the students end up getting 3,000 square foot more space after the renovation's all done in the library. They have that and 160,000 in the Health Education Center. So I think they're going to fare okay with study space. We're also doing a facelift on the Jamel Center. And again, if you pass by that and say, why are you spending all that money? Well, Joe Jamel was a pretty smart guy. He and his wife, Lee, they left a foundation trust to take care of renovations and buy new furniture. Undoubtedly, they knew how rough on furniture college students were anyway, but they have a trust that's set up, and so we get to dip into that and pay for those renovations since they can't be used for anything else. And if you walk through the John Seeley Library, you find things in junkyards and storage all over this island. And someone found 2 cornerstones for the original John Seeley Hospital. And if you haven't noticed them, please just stop by and look at those and see what the cornerstones look like for our original hospital some years ago. You know, the Seeley Smith Foundation has only given us a mere $950 million since they were formed. And that's something we should always be grateful for. And speaking of Seeley Smith, they just awarded us $1.4 million to put in an Epic EMR in both the St. Vincent's House and the teen health clinics. And St. Vincent's House will also get a complete facelift, upgrade of all medical equipment, tables, and those sorts of things, new equipment in those exam rooms, and at least a coat of paint on them. The Seeley Smith board members told us in our meeting that they didn't want us to go out and buy secondhand equipment for our students. They want the same thing that's used in the primary care pavilion and our other clinics. So they're paying for it. They're also paying for staff over there for some additional expansion of the nurse managed clinic. I thought that was pretty good news. We do have some unfortunate news in that the county is getting ready to lose its 4Cs, our Coastal Health and Wellness Clinic on Broadway at 4700 because, and that will have an impact on us, so St. Vincent's House opening will be a good thing. That's occurring because the Housing Authority is looking at leveling that whole structure there and converting it to housing. And we're negotiating with them right now. Again, I want you to know what's going on because you'll see some, over the next several months or maybe a year, you'll see that place change dramatically. We're looking for the health department to try to get a clinic opened within the confines of that housing unit that's there. It would be convenient for the people who live there, and it would preserve access to health care here on the island. But as that happens, the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute will have to transition. The good news there is that we have a building and we have a donor for that building, and that donor will likely also donate the money to renovate the building. So those are three things that are very important to that. And the last thing you should know about when the construction starts is Shriner Burns is moving its Houston Hospital, orthopedic and other surgical areas, down here to Galveston. We met on Monday this week with the Shriners leadership internationally and reviewed those plans. With that will come orthopedic cases and some craniofacial cases, a lot more pediatric cases in general to Shriners. They are already have cleared out 2 floors of that hospital with renovations. We have some remaining research equipment to get out of it before the rest is done. They will open 1 floor for research, have already got their IRB established and everything, move ahead on that, and are looking to collaborate with us for the recruitment of physicians and other services over there. So that is extremely good news and another thing that will hopefully expand our reach. We're also got a lot of buildings on our campus and some not too far off our campus that are not of much use. Do you know that we occupy the Lipton Tea building? Does anyone old enough to remember Lipton Tea? It's down on the Strand. Well, we have medical records there. We even have freeze-dried medical records there. Unfortunately, we just discovered that some of those freeze-dried medical records that we took from Hurricane Ike can be destroyed. We don't have to keep them as long as we thought we did. So we're going to vacate that building over the next 18 months. Why is that important? It's important because it takes away all the maintenance on that building. It takes away all of the electrical support, which is over $1 million a year. And it also clears out junk that we just don't need. Does anybody have stuff in your garage you just never threw away? Well, the 5 floors of the Lipton Tea building are just that. It's your garage, and imagine it by 1,000 times. So we're going to clear out all of that, and we will also announce in the future be major transformations of Ewing Hall. Are any of you located over there? Yeah, a few of you are. Well, we're going to look for a new home for you that might be a little closer to campus, as in on campus. And we're also going to dispose of that facility because it makes sense for us to do that. It makes sense for us to downsize spaces that are no longer usable for a significant purpose. So those are 2 things that we're going to be doing. It'll decrease our footprint, our utilities, our maintenance, just like Lipton Tea. The big thing it does for me is it gets rid of depreciation cost. Right now, for every nickel that we're putting in, we're spending more going out on depreciation. So we don't need a bunch of your garages cluttering up our books. So those 2 beautiful buildings can probably go into someone else's real estate portfolio. That would be, by the way, the Seeley Smith Foundation, and if they sell them, they usually give their money to us. So it's a self-serving move. I want to mention just a couple other things, and this will be very quick. I just want to mention the Angleton-Danbury campus. We were over there recognizing employees earlier this month. The Angleton-Danbury campus has expanded an OLLI program also. They are continuing to support our efforts at 288 and 35. The health district just voted not only to acquire that land, which they did, but to move ahead with plans to put in a urgent care facility and also a new medical office building for UTMB to manage. Again, not on our dollar, but on theirs. So we're trying to do as much as we can by leveraging other people's nickels. In League City, we're adding 60 beds in May, so 60 beds will come online. We have new conference space that's co-located in a medical garage there. And you see the garage every time you pass by. What you don't see there is absolutely beautiful clinic and conference space. You literally get out of your car in the parking garage and walk into beautiful office space there. So it's absolutely awesome. We hit the reset button, as I told you back in December, on our relationship with MD Anderson, and have that moving ahead now with an agreement on the utilization of the operating rooms and the inpatient areas. So that we're looking for some income off that. Over at the Clear Lake campus, well, this weekend Joan celebrates because we're going to have an art show at that campus. Children in the Clear Creek Independent School District did the art that decorates the walls in that new pediatric unit on the 8th floor. So we're taking the old PTA trick and inviting ice cream and art to the campus so that their parents can come out and look at that and talk that up. And then on Tuesday, we'll do an official ribbon cutting and start seeing patients. The pediatric ER is likewise continuing to unfold. Most of those providers in the emergency room and the hospitalists up there are former UTMB graduates who've gone off and worked somewhere else and are coming back home. That's a nice thing too. And we'll be expanding some new pediatric surgical services up there. And as that continues to grow, we will anticipate remarkable growth in basic pediatric surgery, as well as ENT, orthopedics, and others. With the constellation of having a pediatric unit there and the expansion of Shriner Burns, we're going to have a huge opportunity for surgical growth in the pediatric area. You'll hear more about that later too. Also, for those of you who live in the Bay Area, and I hope some of you do because we need you up there, we'll be opening a comprehensive women's health center in the medical office building right adjacent to the hospital. It's going to have the latest whiz-bang everything. You can get everything from that you want lifted. You can get a bladder lift, a facelift, whatever you want. It's all there. So keep that in mind. Finally, a shout out to our students. Some of them were here today. Appreciate seeing them. Student enrollment this year is at, again, an all-time high. And what I'm told by folks on the admissions committee is we have record-breaking numbers of students who've listed us #1 choice for medical school next fall. So that's incredible. That's an accolade to our faculty. That's an accolade to the staff that we have that works with those students. And it's an accolade to all of you because when they visit, you make them feel so welcome and friendly. We get that feedback from all of them. So thank you for staying with me today. We have yet one more little surprise for you outside. Again, our band, thank you for the incredible job you did. Dr. Kaiser wants to know if he can play some more. And so I'll leave that up to them. Thank y'all for everything you do to make UTMB such a successful and wonderful place for our students, for us all, and for our patients. Have a great weekend.
Don't mess with my toot-toot. Don't mess with my toot-toot. Now you can have the other woman, but don't mess with my toot-toot. Well, she was born in a bird suit. The doctor slapped her behind. He said, you're gonna be special. You're gonna be fine. You can look as much, but if you much as touch, you're gonna have yourself a case. Gonna break your face. So don't mess with my toot-toot. Don't mess with my toot-toot. You can have the other woman. Don't mess with my toot-toot.
UTMB Health, working together.